Hello containerizers and welcome to a new demo. So one of the things we've been asked a lot is how to easily play with Docker and easily set up, for instance, a Docker Swarm cluster. And a couple of weeks ago, some community members announced this GitHub project, Play with Docker, that will accommodate that need. And there we go. So for now, everything is empty. You see that on the top there's a clock running. So important to know is that when you start using and playing with Docker through this interface, whatever you do, within 4 hours, the resources will be cleaned up. So it's nothing permanent. So I'm gonna add a first instance. And there we go. So this is my first instance that started within this framework. First node with an IP, I see memory and CPU consumption, and I have a terminal in which I can just run whatever command. So for now, I'm running as root, but it's play with Docker. So let's check our Docker installation, Docker info. So there's a 1.13 installed RC2 and lots of other stuff that you can see over here. So Docker is working. Just to make sure, gonna run the hello world container. You see it's being pulled in and the Docker hello world thing is running. Now, to show that this thing has, of course, much more potential, we're gonna start playing around with a Docker swarm, and I will set up a Docker swarm through this thing. So what I'm gonna do is add 4 more instances, because the maximum instances you can run is 5. So I'm gonna add node 2, and as you'll see, when I want to add one more, I get an error message that that's not possible. So I will run this Docker swarm with 3 master nodes and 2 slave nodes. So gonna init my swarm on node 1, Docker swarm init. And there's one important side thing, is that we have to advertise the address space we're working on. So on top here you can see in the 10.0 space, because this installation has 2 network interfaces, so we have to tell Swarm which one to use. That's it. And there we go. Okay, so the Swarm is initialized. So Docker node list. As you can see, node 1, the one I'm on right now, is initialized as leader. But obviously we want to add some more. So I'm gonna copy paste this command to see how I can add more managers, and copy paste this one, go on node 2. Okay, so this one joined as a manager. I'm gonna do the same thing on the 3rd node. And there we go. There we have our other manager. And now the 2 other nodes will be joining as workers. So that's just the command that's being output in the swarm init command. Joined as worker and joined as worker. And there we go. And you see this nice visualization of managers and workers. So I'm going to create a overlay network first. And I call it a vote. All right, just double checking this. All right, also gonna check the nodes in the cluster just to see is everything okay. There's 5 nodes, everything's found, so that's great. All right, and now gonna launch our first service. So there we go. Okay, the service is being launched. So if now I check that out, okay, there's one service launched. The replicas are already up, so 6 out of 6, that's great. Okay, now one thing is that, okay, we want to test this, but it's not really an infrastructure we have control over. We don't really know, unless we start digging very deep, what IP this is running on, and what infrastructure. So to get into the web application itself, we need to do a little trick. And there's another community member that came up with a good idea, and that's to use ngrok. So if you don't know this tool, it's a really cool tool to basically tunnel whatever you have running in whatever network, whatever system, to the outside, and announce that to the outside world. So I'm gonna start this service, get the logs now for this container. It's called supergrok. My application is now tunneled behind this IP, or behind this domain name. So this will show me just an Nginx frontend. So this is the application itself. That's not really what we wanted. So we really want to see our application, the voting app service that we launched in 6 containers. So the way to do that is by going over here, and then there's a little trick that you can use the IP for to tunnel it. So I put that in my path, and we announced our service on port 8080. And as you can see, the application is working, sort of, because the style sheet and JavaScript is not being loaded because we have this path, and probably the front-end application here loads it relatively. So there's a lot of dirty stuff going on in the path over there. So we need to come up with a smarter way to do this. To check on our front-end application in a nicer way, we're gonna use that same supergrok image, but run it in a more interactive way. So I have the command over here. And by the way, comes also pops up in the output that you run the ngrok image in the first time. So what I'm going to do here is run the container attached to the host network. It's the same image, and I'm going to tunnel all HTTP traffic towards this node on port 8080. And that will run this container interactively. And as you can see, the ngrok container is now routing all HTTP traffic on this domain name. It's a new one. To port 8080. So when we're checking that out, we have a nice route path to our application. And as you can see, this is the voting application. Since it's a service running in multiple containers, when I refresh, you'll see that Docker Swarm is nicely load balancing to all the containers that it's running. So that's great. Now, of course, app is not working yet because there's no persistent storage behind it. So we're gonna do that. I'm gonna close this up, so my tunnel will be gone. So gonna launch another service named Redis, and there we go. Docker service ls, another service. It's still booting. Containers aren't started, and there we go. 1 out of 1 container started. So gonna launch now, and maybe I can launch it on another node. So I'm gonna launch the same thing. So it doesn't matter on what node you're running this. The tunnel, the ngrok tunnel, is just a container running on a node and tunneling all the traffic. So I don't have to run it on the node one. Can just run it anywhere. So I'm gonna do that. Application is pulling everything in. We get this new nice IP. And there we go, our application. Again, if I refresh, it's nicely being load balanced. And now I should be able to cast my vote, and that vote is being stored in Redis.